So first, let's just talk about the why. I just went through and kind of talked about the story of how we launched it, but the why, like the burning platform, the burning need that exists there is that there's not equal access to jobs. And your zip code does determine your destiny. And where you're born really impacts who your network is. And so, we and I personally really understood the importance of leveling that playing field so that everybody who wanted a job could get access to a job. And during the time of the recession, at that time, during the Great Recession, there was still the stigma of being unemployed, but it was starting to go away because people were starting to realize that everybody was getting unemployed. And so suddenly the stigma started to go away and we started to do some research on it. There was also research showing that, individuals who were long-term unemployed were actually staying at places longer. We had that working for us, but we also had this passion that, we should equalize the playing field so that people who wanted jobs could get them. So that's where, the passion came from. And you combine that from an academic or, kind of macro view on the workforce system. And if you follow the money, it'll tell you how things work. And if you follow the money in the workforce system, predominantly the workforce system is fueled by, at that time it was called WIA funding. Now it's called WIOA funding. It's Workforce Investment Opportunity Act funding from the federal government, which essentially was generally tagged to the person instead of tagged to the job or the employer. And so the result of that is that there are systems and, very good not-for-profits around the country, which are getting people job ready, but there's no connection, deep connection or promise of a job. And technically you could also be training people for things that maybe they're not going to get a job in. And so you're not expending those resources well. So, that passion then came to the point of let's start this where you start with the end first. And starting with the end first means you start with the job first instead of starting with the person first. Now it's important to note that the work is about the people. It's all about the people. It's about getting people access to jobs. But to do that, you need to have the gold, and the gold is the job, and the jobs come from the employers. And so it's putting them at the forefront. And, part of that component also putting the employers at the forefront was also to ensure that we had a board of directors that was composed, 99% of chief human resource officers and C-suite executives who represent what's happening in the market, because the market changes. And so we needed to have that voice at the table, in contrast to kind of working workforce boards, which typically have about half not-for-profit and community college and then half business. We wanted a place and voice of the businesses, but never losing sight of the people.